All right, today we are going to talk about this 2026 Ram Rebel. This is actually my vehicle, and I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong with it or things that I don't like today. This is going to be just all of the issues that I've had. I just had it at the dealer. Let's look under the hood. I'm going to show you a couple things that kind of annoy me, and they haven't caused problems yet, but I know it's going to annoy me for the life of this truck. The first is the obvious one. There is no oil dipstick, and they definitely could have put one in. There's plenty of room everywhere to put one in. Would have cost maybe $10 to $20. I would have gladly paid $20 more for this vehicle just to get that dipstick. I don't like this dual battery setup. So you'll see one here, and you'll see a smaller battery there. There is a delete online. You can actually just go to one battery to simplify things. It makes for more complexity and more things that could go wrong when you're out on the road. You don't want to be thinking about, can I even use a jump pack with this? Will it even work? More complexity in all these new vehicles tends to drive me nuts. On the exterior that are slightly annoying. This part you can actually see over this just fine in this, but once it jumps up and kind of makes this extra leap up in height there, it does make it a little more difficult to see outside the windshield. There's just not really much of a reason for this other than just a design element. It does look cool, but I would prefer that's just a little bit lower. Really no need for it. Another thing that I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell in this, but you can see this paint, and I saw this in the Toyotas as well as other brands. I don't know if you can see it. It kind of looks a little, I don't know, orange peely is the best way to put it. Let's see if I can get a better look here. It's tough to see, but the quality of paint, I just don't think it's, you know, top tier on these or the Toyotas I looked at, or really any of them. Just something that you notice. I noticed it on a bunch of different brands. Part of it's the color. If you get a color that is more like a silver or a gray or something with metal flake in it, I don't think you'll see that or notice that, but you will notice it on these newer colors that you see. The thing that I really don't like, I like the way these tires look. In general, the DuraTracs look fine, but you'll notice that there is just this wider lug here. You tend to get a lot of road noise, at least in my opinion. This is a pretty decent amount of road noise with these, and it's mostly attributed to this just wider gap here. It eats a lot of rocks, so I've been on some gravel roads with my boat trailer, and man, this thing will just grab big, huge rocks and then fling them up, and makes a ton of racket with these tires on it. I know they make better all-terrains than this, and they weren't really that impressive in my off-road tests in some mud. I really wasn't that impressed with the DuraTracs. I know some people love them. Now, another mechanical thing that I've noticed, these rotors are actually quite big. They take up the entire tire here. The biggest rotors in class, actually. However, they have a 2-piston caliper here. I think with all of that surface area they had, they could have upgraded to a 4-piston caliper. I've been pretty happy with the brakes. I just think they could have been above and beyond everybody, really class leading with stopping distance. They've already got the metal there. Adding the 4-piston on the front would have just made them feel insanely responsive, especially with a trailer. Talk about this briefly in another video, but I don't like seeing a lot of these electrical connections like this one behind here. You're in the wheel well, there's no cover here. Would be nice to have covers here at minimum, just to cut down on some racket and to keep some of that garbage out of these harnesses that are sitting right here by the tire. And that's not even the worst offender. We're gonna slip under here under the undercarriage. This is probably one of the worst harnesses they have underneath this truck, and it is right by this back wheel. Just a bad design. This should probably be covered up. These are generally going to be spots where you're going to get corrosion inside of here. This stuff could easily be covered, and being back here at the back of the vehicle, you're going to tend to get dust, water, all sorts of stuff. You really have to go through the whole vehicle, probably look at all this stuff, especially if you're in the rust belt or salt belt. Another thing I noticed, especially on the Rebel and Warlock, you have this really nice skid plate package where you got the transfer case covered, the gas tank, you know, all this stuff is covered back here, but there's kind of this big gaping hole in between the front bumper and the frame. They could have at least put something here. I mean, they went to the trouble of putting 3 skid plates all the way back. Just kind of finish it off like the RHO has here. Now we're under the car, kind of towards the front of the truck. You'll see more harnesses like this. This is a little bit more, you know, it's covered, it's taped all the way to the heads. That looks a little bit better than the ones in the rear of the vehicle. Now, one thing you'll see here is this exhaust. So it comes off of your catalytic converters up here, and then it makes its way right underneath the transmission pan, and you'll see right there, boy, that's really going to be difficult to change to do like a drain and fill on this transmission. It's just not a lot of room. I think there might be a chance that I'll be able to do it, but man, they could have moved these pipes a little bit forward, maybe just gone to a single pipe right here and moved it back. You know, you do have nice things like this transfer case cover right there, and then the gas tank has its own cover as well. Now here's another look at the exhaust and just sort of how it comes across the other side. You can see this is where you're going to end up doing the service on the transmission. Not a ton of room there. Everything else is really easy to deal with. You do have your oil filter right there, the drain plug, all that's super easy because it's an inline six. Another thing that is weird, it's just a weird choice. These are actually storage bins that you'll find inside the truck right there. So these storage bins, I mean, I would imagine once they get some ice and snow and stuff on them, boy, they just seem like they are awfully exposed underneath the truck here. A little weird. Nitpicky, but when you get the Rebel package with those off-road tires, you do get a full-size spare here, but it sure would be cool if it matched the tread pattern and the design. I know it would cost more, but hey. So I just took this into the dealership and they actually couldn't fix the problem because they couldn't reproduce the problem. But here's the problem I keep having. Right now, this is actually working properly, but very often this just won't work with CarPlay. This won't actually show up. Even if you plug in down here, nothing happens. And you actually have to go to media, and then you actually have to go to your phone, and you have to connect it through Bluetooth. So if you do have a skipping problem or a problem with CarPlay, the best thing you can do to listen to music is just clicking that so you feel like you're going back in time a little bit. The dealership told me that they actually cannot fix it if they can't reproduce it. I have to wait till it happens again. Try to drive to the Ram dealer and get them to fix it. He said, unfortunately, this is probably the #1 complaint in all of their vehicles is just the Uconnect wonkiness. Now it does work reliably with just Bluetooth. So if you don't care about CarPlay or Android Auto, that seems to work just fine. As far as just Bluetooth music, kind of old school. Next thing I don't like is you're gonna hear this hopefully a little bit. So I'm gonna stick this down here. Not sure if you could hear that high-pitched whine, but there are a lot of electronics on these vehicles. Even when they're turned off, there tends to be like parasitic drain. I haven't had any problems with my batteries. That's usually the root cause of all the problems on these Rams. If you do have a problem, it's probably gonna be electrical, and it's probably gonna be related to one of the batteries. Most people I see online swap out one of the two batteries or both the batteries, and they tend not to have problems anymore. Now there is a recall on this, and it's related to the trailer tow control module. It looks like they're replacing all of the trailer tow modules in these vehicles. They're on back order right now. Mine works fine. I've been towing a boat with this thing, trying to get some testing in. The problem is the module is under here. You do have to remove the seats. I don't have to remove the seats, but the dealer does. So it is a little bit disruptive. The next problem I see frequently counted for online is this digital dash. So there is another recall on this digital dash, and the recall is that it just turns black and it actually needs to be replaced. So I haven't had any problems with this one, but looking back on it, it's like I went to the Rebel instead of like a Warlock or now the Backcountry that's a new trim, because I just wanted some of the features with the dual climate control. Got a family and a wife that wants that. But now looking back on it, it's like, man, I wish I had an analog dash sometimes. I just like analog gauges. That's what I sit on most of the time anyway. Don't really care about all the digital stuff. Now the next thing that I dislike, and I think they should really change, you do have nice physical buttons here for most of your climate control, but you have to go into this little tiny icon right here to get to your heated steering wheel and your heated seats, and you have to do that on both the driver and the passenger side. I think that's a little silly. There was probably plenty of room maybe down here. Other than that, I actually do really like the layout of this steering wheel. It's very functional. They probably could have stuck it in there. Quite irritating to have to click on a touch screen to get to your heated seats or heated steering wheel. Another thing on the interior that really kind of drove me nuts is this plastic in here. I've actually had this off already. So I've taken this bolt out, I've removed this piece just back a little bit, and when you push on it, it kind of clicks, and as you're driving down the road, super irritating to listen to. So I actually pulled this off, put some foam back here, just some sticky foam, and that resolved the problem. Just shouldn't have to do that in a new vehicle. The thing I'm not crazy about is these cup holders are fairly small, but the same goes for right here in the center console. These are actually, you know, about like what you'd see in, I don't know, small SUVs and cars. I'm used to just having massive cup holders. Now you can move this back and actually stick your big water bottles there, and it's totally fine. It's just, it'd be nice to have a little bit larger. Another weird thing on this is the turn signal is like kind of far away from the wheel. So when you're actually turning, if you've got the brights on and that's forward, you're kind of whiffing on it a little bit. You got to reach out, but tiny little thing, not that big a deal. Another thing that is not standard is proximity. You don't really get the proximity key. So as I get closer to this, so if it's locked, it doesn't work. It's not that big a deal. And actually for the Rams, because they're having so many electrical issues, you know, because this isn't really being used as a proximity to unlock this, maybe that's why I haven't had any battery problems like a lot of these guys. Seems like the upper trims, the tungstens, limiteds, all those seem to tend to have more battery problems than I've got. So the question I think that most people would want to know is, would I buy this again? Knowing what I know about all the other half tons? And the answer is yes. I actually think that the most important thing to me is the powertrain on this truck. And so far I trust it. It's only been since October. So I really can't say long term that I trust this truck. No one really can until you get, 100, 150,000 miles on these things. Will I keep it that long? Who knows? But right now, this is gonna be my truck for the foreseeable future. If I was gonna recommend a half ton to anybody, I would probably at least take a look at this, just go drive them and see what you think. The ZF transmission is buttery smooth. It doesn't have a lot of issues. It's been out a long time. It's an 8-speed and it's ZF. It's not like you're trusting the manufacturer to not cut corners on it. The Hurricane platform in this has been out a long time. I don't see engine failures. Well, they get a lot of guys in the comments saying, hey man, you should bash Ram. Trust me, if I see an engine failure on this, you're gonna know about it. Why would I not tell people if I had an engine failure? I mean, first of all, it's great content. And second of all, I think people need to know. So when you look at these vehicles in the Facebook groups, in the forums, I don't see any of them. Mark Dodge, which is the #1 dealer in the country for Ram, just did a video with Barry at C-Tech Review. They said they ordered a Hurricane engine a year ago just to have it on standby in case they had a problem. They haven't had any problems. They haven't done one engine swap, and they are the #1 Ram dealer in the country. Not one single engine swap over the past 12 to 14 months, however long they've had them. So the only problems really, like major powertrain issues that they've had, were some thermostat issues early on, some catalytic converter issues due to a misfire. So far, they've been pretty reliable. I mean, not like old Toyota reliable, but they've been pretty good compared to maybe GM 6.2 liter, the 3 liter Duramaxes. Transmission and engine wise, these are good right now.